wanted to share some of my research with you guys. To the rainbow graduation of 2007, some foam. Some does. Don't brag, Mom. Lately I've been obsessed with bubbles. As they float in the air, or as they coagulate in strands along lakes and ponds, as they ride the crest of a wave, or as they bob on the surface of an empty ocean. A final shot in film after something has happened. What does that say? Because it's something I wanted to give you, because foam is so gay. I like all the gays, don't you? I know that you are a diverse LGBT group. I've been to your graduation before, and I gleefully rode the waves of the diversity of your project. Fluid, for example. I love fluid. But I certainly love all of you. Let me get that over with right away. The love, and essentially that's what I think I'm talking about. That's what foam is. It means something has happened, something is over, something has spoke. That's you guys now. In cartoons, a couple are sitting on a couch looking bored, but over their heads, the artist has drawn some clouds, and in those clouds are their thoughts. The artist doesn't have the capacity that we do in our own homes, on our iPods, in our cars, or being here right now. Samuel? And I just want to point out that before anything happens, that I wrote Samuel ... bubbles to indicate that I wanted something. It hadn't happened yet, but bubbles indicate the future. Let's hear that capacity for a moment. Listen to that. Incredible, right? This is some scientist here in our own little UCSD, La Jolla, and this guy is obsessed with foam and the sound of it in the ocean, and he's obsessed with ice melting. That it is somehow essentially the same thing, a release, an exchange of gas. And his theory is that if we listen to the melting of the ice caps, we will know more than if we just measure them. So he's making recordings of the sound of loss, and perhaps having that means we won't have to have that. I mean, no ice caps in the future. No world going flip-flop, no ice age. Perhaps I'm being extreme. But back to that couple on the couch. The artist has created something to release for us the sound of their thoughts. It's an imaginary, picture the cloud and picture those dots like pearls coming down to the heads of the people thinking. It's an imaginary silence and an imaginary sound. But we see it released in the air by ink and a pen, and then the miracle. And what isn't? In newspapers and books, that the one drawing can be reproduced again and again and shared around the globe. Pop, pop, pop. I think of print as a kind of reproduction, and I think of bubbles too. Look at them. I mean, close. Are they all the same? I have no idea. But one grows out of the next, and they carry the light and the day. It's a kind of film, foam. It reflects the light in a jagged way. It reflects its own movement and growth. It copies. It's sort of natural Xerox and commentary. And what kind of movement are we? I used the word gay earlier to say that I'm not suggesting that you are gay, because I understand that the umbrella we are under today is so complex that it still stands in some kind of rainbowy way. We say rainbow because that's nature and diffuse and kind of remarkable after all. It always is. Whenever you see a rainbow, you go, look. You go, oh my God. OMG, you go, you are so surprised. It's always right, rainbow. But you don't go ending films with rainbows, unless it's social realism. You could do it. You could do anything, and that's the greatest project of all. How can I do it? Whatever it is, how can I do it? The word gay means delightful somehow. I want to bring it back in all the ways so that it can return to being foam and be claimed for the future. I used to watch a show with my parents when I would watch anything with them so the day wouldn't be over. It was never long enough when someone was controlling that fact. When I rose, and when I went to bed. I wasn't my own son for a very long while. My mother was, and it was she I would beg for a little more. Of everything, but especially of time. Let me stay up with you and watch Lawrence Welk. And he was this Polish guy with a shortened name. And so was my mom, though she wasn't a guy, she was Polish, and she was kind of butch, like a LA butch. She dressed like a lady, but she was strong, fierce. Bubble, bubble, bubble. I love women like that. And his show would end and begin with bubbles, champagne bubbles, which feels kind of like a dead end. It was really going pretty good until here. But in a very limited but safe and practical life, people like my mom like to listen to music, singing, laughing, smiling, people at the piano, grinning couples dancing at the camera, this man, Lawrence Welk, shaking a wand, and somebody else emitting the bubbles, which symbolized the good life, the romance, the laughter, and the fun. The bubbles were that. Not the alcoholism that flooded so many American homes with those exact same bubbles, champagne and beer and soda with your drink. These were ideal bubbles, drawings of the fun you hoped for when you stepped into the club, not the literal sauce you poured down. You can't see music, the music pouring from the orchestra, so the bubbles were the notes, and there wasn't a smoke machine, and they didn't break their guitars, and there wasn't a light show. And Lawrence Welk, he went like this, tapping his wand with a smile, not like, you know, this, like the moves of rap, which I mean, I totally like rap, but I do think it belongs better in this world, but I'm talking about Lawrence Welk. He gave my mother hope. It was the banner and the residue of her youth, laughing at the wedding. Someone's, not mine. I thought being gay in the 70s when I came out meant that I wouldn't have babies. And it did mean that for me, in some way, because that's what I did. I didn't. Occasionally, girlfriends have meant to do that, but nature is as it is, and it didn't keep me around. But there's a kind of birth in foam. Supposedly Cronus, the god of time, cut off the genitals of Uranus, his father, and the father of the gods, and threw them in the ocean, and there was a great disturbance underneath, huge magic and bubbles, a magic or speech, and what came up was a goddess. Aphrodite was born. Aphros means sea foam. And the root of that, Aphroi, means Africa, which some say is the birth of the world. Was the world born in bubbles? I don't know. What are the scientists hearing when the ice melts? Is it the future or the past? When they say that people like us, when they talk about us that way, shouldn't teach or defend our country, or get married, or have children, or have legal children, adopt children, or be children, or really do anything more than inhabit an idea or someplace else that some God doesn't love unless the it of us promises not to have sex or talk about it. When they say the problem is that if our foam, and by that I mean our freedom, our speech, our gayness, our growth, that the fact of our presence on and on, ellipsis, our gift, when they say that that should be different, meaning separate, and not flow into the immense sea of existence exactly as it is, constantly and magically, and I look at each bubble that makes this thing up, and I like that you guys are standing at a gate, which is not. And each little bubble has the bursting heart of a rebel, a moving and strong one. So I just want to say, go, because you're beautiful and vulnerable and strong. And wherever there's bubbles, we are all there and we show. Pop, pop.